Hello, dear friends. Once again, a very warm welcome to your own channel related with English literature, Lit eCity. Friends, today we are going to discuss a very major novel in English literature. In fact, this novel single-handedly changed the course of novel writing in English literature. It was the time when writers like James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, and D.H. Lawrence they were writing certain novels that were totally, we can say, reversal of traditional fictional writing. In fact, Victorian age it was famous for its novel writing. Writers like Charles Dickens, Thomas Hardy, they have written lot of novels and very popular ones also. But these three writers they wrote novels with techniques and subject matter which was quite new and which totally radically changed novel writing forever. इन्हीं के साथ हम modernism in fiction को हम study करते हैं. Okay, the work which we are going to discuss today is a portrait of the artist as a young man. Friends, this is a benchmark novel. It is a trendsetter novel. This novel has nothing like earlier that has been written in any kind of literature. It includes all type of impression, and whether it is the technique, whether it is the treatment, whether it is the structure, everything is some innovative, something radical, some a kind of experimentation. It is written by James Joyce. I don't think I need to introduce this great writer. He belonged to Irish Ireland, and he wrote at a time when it was a time of great political and social turbulence in Irish society. Traditionally, Irish people are religiously very devoted Catholics, but there was a demand. There was in society there was basically a wave of change. Also, politically, they want a freedom from English domination. There were even violent rebellion against the English forces. All these things were going on when James Joyce grew up and he wrote this novel. So the setting of the novel, most of the novel, in fact, almost the whole of the novel has its setting in Ireland, especially in Dublin, where the protagonist of this novel resides, and the duration, the time space of this novel is late 19th century. It was, if we talk about the history of this writing of this particular novel, it basically took almost 15 years to grow up. This is important to mark here. Joyce first started writing this novel in 1904, and the title he gave was Stephen Hero. It was for the first time that he visualizes the kind of novel he wanted to write at that time. He was quite young. You can see 1904, 1882, his birth year. So he was only 22 years old, a very inexperienced man, and he saw a girl and he witnessed some kind of transformation taking place in him, and that inspired to write him Stephen Hero. He wanted to write a sort of a biography of a young man, in fact, an autobiography. But after writing 20 or 25 odd chapters, he abandoned this project, and then he picked it up on the inspiration of Ezra Pound and some of other his friends. He wrote this novel, and it was published as a serial in this magazine, The Egoist. It was a very popular magazine of that time, and in 1914 it was published as a serial form, and in 1916 it was published as a novel. Now, if we talk about the genre of this particular novel, I would like to use a German word which is generally used for this kind of novel. It is a Künstlerroman. Now, what is a Künstlerroman? Those who have seen this word for the first time, It is a novel about an artist's growth and development. Okay, related to this, we have another term that maybe you have read somewhere or heard about it. It is Bilnagas Roman. That is development of a character protagonist, majority of times. Difference between these two is that consular roman deals specifically the growth of an artist. There are many novels in which the growth of a particular artist is ventured and discovered and described, and this particular novel where the protagonist is an emerging, a budding writer, his basically dilemmas and how he tackles them, what are the aspiration, how he gets inspired to write, what are the obstacles, all these things are presented. The novel is divided into five chapters, and each chapters has certain parts also. So this basically, and the name of the protagonist of this novel is Stephen Dedalus. Now, this name in itself is very important. In fact, it is a key to understand about the protagonist. If we look at the name, Stephen here refers to a famous Christian saint, Stephen, and in fact, he is considered as the first martyr of Christianity. And Daedalus referred to the famous Greek craftsman, labyrinth maker, and for the king Minos, he made a labyrinth, and then with his son Icarus on waxen wings, he fled from there. So he represents a kind of inspirational wings, wings of imagination through which we can flee, from which through which with the help of these wings of imagination one can escape the dull realities, the drab existence outside an artist is trapped into, उनसे बचने के लिए. So the name itself is very significant. And before we launch into the summary, one important thing, the epigraph, it is taken from Ovid, originally written in Latin language. If we translate it, and he turned his mind to unknown arts. Very once again, the epigraph shows what this novel is about. It is about how the artist, for whom the art is an unknown sphere, he launches himself full of conviction, artistic conviction. तो ये कुछ जनरल फैक्ट्स थे इस नॉवल के बारे में. Let's start talking about the summary of this novel and analyze this. हम स्टार्ट करते हैं नॉवल की समरी को. सो the beginning of the novel, Stephen is just a toddler, and we find that his father is telling him a story of a cow, how a cow meets a baby tapu. And then Stephen, even when he is an infant, even when he is a toddler, he imagines himself to be the baby tapu. And a very significant part of this part of the novel is focus on the sensory impressions on this boy. He imagines all type of good and bad smells and tastes. He thinks about the songs he hear in nursery, and then his bad wetting smell, and that bad smell he then thinks about his own mother and the good smell of his mother. ये जो these early impressions on this toddler, they form the initial storehouse of the impressions. Throughout this novel, we will witness that how Stephen is very sensitive to all the sense impressions. When he grows a little bit more, we comes to know more about this. His family, the family is typically Catholic. And at that time in Irish politics, the name of Thomas Parnell was quite heard often because Parnell, who was considered a champion of Irish cause, later he faced a sort of a scandalous disgrace, and so these things are discussed generally at the home of all Irish people. He has Uncle Charles. in fact his great uncle, and they have many evening walks together. He always find that his father and Uncle Charles are in mid of some heated debates. A very important character in the early part of Stephen's life is Dante. Dante is the Catholic governess of this house, and she always puts certain ideas in the mind of the boy. For example, when Stephen tells that he wants to marry the neighborhood girl Eileen wants, Dante is very much shocked by this young, even a child's confession, and she threats her that don't indulge in these kind of nefarious activities. Eagle will eat out your eyes. So this religious imagery is very important in the early part of this novel. Then, after some time, we move to the, we can say, the adolescent Stephen, and now he joins Clongowes Wood College. Now, Clongowes Wood College, it is basically the first formal institute for his education, but he is not very happy here. Once again, there are lots of sensory impressions on his mind, young mind. He can feel the dampness. During one of the classes, he is defeated by his rival in mathematic puzzle, and he feels that he is not he feels himself very weak in comparison to other boys. And then there are hot water pipes, cold water pipes, and these pipes, the water running out of them, create some sensations in his mind, and he himself is quite troubled at these impressions. All these things make him homesick, and he longs to go back to the warmth of the home. There is a particular incident at the Clongowes College which proves to be an important impression on his life. In fact, Stephen Wells, one of his school boys, he pushes Stephen into a ditch full of water, and because of this incident, he fell sick. Now, because he is sick, one of the teacher, I think the name is Brother Michael, he spares Stephen from doing some homework, and Stephen, when he attends next class, Father Arnold's class, who is their religious teacher, the head teacher, Father Dolan, comes there, and he is carrying a leather belt, a kind of thing, a pandy belt. The name of that particular belt is Pandy Bat, and he one by one he asks the students some questions, and when he finds that Stephen has not completed his homework, he flogs Stephen. When he has left, Stephen thinks that he has not been treated fairly because he was spared from doing the homework by the teacher himself. So he decides. Initially, he is in two minds whether to complain or not, but then he says, compare the name. My name is Stephen Dadless. It seems the name itself is heroic, whereas Dolan doesn't sound any heroic quality. So he decides to go and complain to the rector, and he goes to the rector. Rector is a very kind person, and he says, okay, you need not to worry about this matter, and I will look into this and tell Father Dolan not to trouble you till you recover from your illness. And when he comes out of this the rector's room, the fellow students whistles for him, they cheers him, and he is full of pride. He feels that he has at least done something which makes him hero like other persons. So this is the part where we meet the young, the impressionable boy, and the early sensations which make a very important part of his later development. चलिए आगे बढ़कर देखते हैं नेक्स्ट क्या होता है. And now Stephen, when he comes back from his Clongowes school, he meets Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn is an athlete and he shows Stephen some exercises, physical exercises, especially about running and other things. And in during this period, during this vacation, he also befriends Aubrey Mills, another neighborhood boy, and according to their plans, according to their imagination, they even form an adventure club. ये जो adventure club है, they perform various tasks just like as if they are part of some great knight's order. These are very common, and these are some very things which influenced the early stage of Stephen. Now, the financial condition of the family is not very good, and the family decides to move to Dublin. It is almost a very disappointing thing for Stephen because he can no more join his school. And when they reach, when the and he somewhat blames his father for this financial troubles because he thinks that his father is not able to handle the financial security of the family. Once they reach Dublin and once they settles there, Stephen has a lot of time in his hands, and how he utilizes this time, he wanders the street of Dublin once again. The impressionable boy witness many scenes, crowd scenes and sights and various aspects of Dublin city, and all these the sounds of birds chirping and other things, and all these impressions make a lasting impression on his mind. A very curious incident happens at this time. He attends a birthday party, and at that particular party he meets with a girl. We don't have the full name of the girl, and in the novel she is mentioned like this, E and C. And he walks back this girl, they board the same tram, and even he is so fascinated, he is so attracted by her beauty that he tries to compose a poem for her. Obviously he is not able to do so. Now after a break, now Stephen is in his 16th year, and he joins Belvedere College, which is a Jesuit college, a college which has a religious background. Here he excels in studies. He is almost in the top three students of his class. He is chosen to perform the role of a stupid teacher in a school play. When he is at the backstage, he feels bored by all these noises, and he decides to come out, and he converse with many friends who are gathered outside in the garden and smoking. And there they talk about how they have seen his father walking with a beautiful girl. And Stephen is basically astounded. He is surprised and he thinks maybe the girl is easy. He thinks about 2 years back when he met this girl during that train journey, and how he tried to compose a poem. There he also argues, he remembers how he argued with his friends, especially Heron, when they were discussing about their favorite poet, favorite literary artist, and when Stephen told them that he liked Byron, they all criticized him because according to him, Byron was a heretic. Byron didn't believe in God, and because Ireland was predominantly a Catholic country, they considered that the choice of Stephen is not good. But Stephen is adamant in his choice, and this shows even at the adolescent period, he has his own conviction, he has his own independent tastes. Then he performs, then he is summoned back to the stage, and he goes there, performs his role very easily without any hitch. And then when he is going back home, he is disappointed because there is no girl waiting for him as he expected, that maybe his father is waiting along with this girl EC. Another incident happens at this period of time, that he has a visit to the city of Cork. Now, this city Cork, it is a hometown of his father, and they have to sell a property there. So he takes a train visit there, and the whole visit, his father tells him various anecdotes, interesting story about his own past. Stephen is not very interested, and when they have done the business, when before coming back, his father takes him to various pubs and gets drunk, and Stephen feels quite embarrassed with his father. He also receives a large sum of money as a part of his academic performance, and without thinking much, he spends this money on his friends and family. But when the money is spent, he feels like a foolish person who has so foolishly spent all his money. A very important part of this particular period of Stephen's life is that, like an average boy, he also begins to feel physical urges. He wants to explore this carnal desire, and he starts to roam the streets where prostitutes reside. And one day, a prostitute calls him. He goes into her room and have sex with her. After that sex, after this particular experience, for a time he feels almost numb. So these are the formative years of and now Stephen is in a kind of moral dilemma. He is on one hand enjoying this splurge into the illicit sex with prostitutes. On the other hand, he has this we can say a kind of feeling of being a hypocrite whenever he goes to a church. He thinks that this sin of lust has leading him to other sins also, and especially he gets an opportunity to lead a group of students for a special prayer for Virgin Mary. And there, when he is performing this religious prayer, he thinks that he is committing a grave sin. Now, a very important incident happens when the school announces that there is going to be a 3 day special services, a religious retreat, and during this retreat, the students will be addressed by Father Arnold on religious topics. Now, Father Arnold, his 3 days, he lectures these students, and the subject matter of his lectures is about searching your own soul and thinking about the crimes, the sins we commit. He presents a very horrifying pictures of hell. A person when he dies in sin, how he has to go and tormented in hell. He also tells a student the story of Lucifer or fallen angel or Satan, how the sin of pride has forced him to fall from heaven, and also various sins we commit, and how we can save ourselves more than how we can save our souls from committing these kind of sins. Each lecture brings more horror to Stephen. He is not able to sleep, and he envisions hell's torture. He thinks that he has committed a lot of sins, and he is not going to get any sort of redemption. Finally, he decides that he must go and visit a church. He wants to confess about his sins, but not in his college because of his obvious embarrassment. So he goes to a local church, and there he confesses to the priest all his sins. The priest basically absolves him and tells him that you should be quite aware of the outcome of such sins, and you should try to be away from this path. When he comes out of this church, he feels a sense of purity, cleanliness. He thinks a great weight has lifted from his souls. Now he divides each day into a very strict religious order. He has a lot of prayers to perform. He has rosaries in his pockets, always counting them. he keeps fasts, he lead a very simple, a very devoted religious life. But after some time, the prayer ceases to give any consolation. Once again, he begins to have temptations, though this time he doesn't give to these temptations, but still he feels that prayer is not so effective as he thought it to be. Now, looking at Stephen's behavior, his religious tendency, the director of this Jesuit college invites him for a formal talk and advises that Stephen should look into a career of the clergy. He should join the church as an ecclesiastic. Now, obviously, at the first thought, Stephen is filled with pride, thinking of that how when he will become a priest, he will wield power, he will have some power, how women will come and confess their dirty sins to him. But when he comes out, when he thinks of it, he thinks about the ordered and passionless life. This is very important. Passionless life means that he has to detach himself from all the earthly sensation, from all the we can say artistic aspirations, and he decides he will never join an institution. He won't get his wisdom second hand, but he will gain it from his own experiences, and he decides that he will refuse this offer to join the clergy. So this is the second stage and very important stage of Stephen's development as an artist. We have seen these two stages, first as a childhood when he is a curious investigator, and second as an adolescent boy who is exploring the world, spiritual and physical worlds, and having his own experiences. Now we will look at the final stage when he realizes his true calling of the vocation. Goes ahead, and now we find this is very important part of the novel. Let me tell you first, and here happens the most important technical innovation by Joyce, that is concept of epiphany. Now, what is an epiphany? Basically, epiphany is a religious phenomena. Epiphany is the revelation of God. In according to Joyce's particular technique, his protagonists have moments where he can see the inner reality of things, where he can have a sudden revelation of something which was quite obvious but was not significantly clear to him. It happens in the case of Stephens now. Now, Stephens is wandering through the streets of Dublin, and he hears his friend. They are swimming in the sea and calling his name. This sound, this name calling reminds of his name, Daedalus, and he thinks about the master craftsman, Daedalus, the original one who created the labyrinth as per the demand of Minos, and then when he was trapped there, he made waxen wings, and with his son Icarus fled from there. He imagines a flying shape, and he thinks that this flying shape is basically representation of an artist who can create a new soaring impalpable imperishable being. This is the definition of the work of art according to Stephen, or we can say Stephen is what? Stephen is just we can say a symbol of all the artists, and in this particular novel, alter ego of James Joyce. So a new soaring which is always above ground, impalpable which cannot be felt by touch, and imperishable which is beyond perish. Such thing is created by an artist. He now feels, he is convinced that his calls of life is to be an artist, to be free from all the tedium of life. He is convinced that he will be an artist. He takes off his shoes, becomes relaxed, jumps into the sea, takes bath, yells at the sky, comes out, sleeps there, and even when he wakes up, he is still quite overjoyed. He has found the meaning of the life. This epiphany has shown him that his real calling of the life is to be an artist. Now, when next day he is taking a walk to the school, different patches during this walk reminds of a different writer like Hopman, Newman, even Ibsen. He thinks about these writers, and then he spends a lot of time in the library of the school. He is not interested in taking classes. There in the library, he reads classical critics like Aquinas, Aristotle, and also Elizabethan poets. He has a discussion with his friends regarding the principle of beauty and other things. There is one particular friend, Lynch, with whom he has a lengthened discussion about the art and the different types of art. Before that, when he comes out, there is a boy, Macon. He is collecting signature for Nicholas II, Jar Nicholas II, for the world peace. Only Stephen refuses to sign this player because Stephen says that I won't sign. Every student is shocked and they say, "Don't you love Ireland?" And he says that I want to be freed from these concepts of nationality, language, religion. I am an artist and I am not bound up by any kind of this limit. And then he has a discussion with Lynch, his friend, on the utility of art, on the definition of art, and he says that bad art basically is not static, it is quite dynamic, it creates passions, that is bad art. On the other hand, good art, it inspires you, it creates emotions in you. And he also divides arts into three forms: lyric, which is purely from the artistic point of view; epic, which is in between artist and the external world; and the drama, which is all about the external world. So he is now able at this juncture of his life to form his own theories related with art. We can see, we can feel that the artist is already in a nascent stage. Artist is already developing its his conception related with art. Now the only final phase is that of confirmation and that of the flight, which we will. Okay. Now it comes to the last part of the novel, and Stephen is growing day by day more conscious about his artistic aspirations. He meets EC and he finds that she is flirting with a priest, and he once again thinks about her. He writes a poem on her. Now he is able to compose a very detailed and intricate poem. In fact, a villanelle, which has a very complicated structure. But he is not able to imagine just the face of EC. In fact, he composes this poem keeping in the mind image of both EC and Virgin Mary. Then he watches a flock of birds outside the library, and these flocks of birds, these trees, everything around him gives him the idea about literature and philosophy. His mind is preoccupied with these ideas. He meets Cranley, who is a very close friend to him, with whom he often discusses his concepts of arts and theories which he has formulated related with literature. When Cranley and he come outside, Cranley greets EC. This puts a kind of suspicion in the mind of Stephen that maybe Cranley also likes EC. Then they have a quite a long discussion in which Stephen tells him that he had a fight with his mother early morning because his mother wanted wanted him to perform a particular religious rite, which he refused. That is why his mother was quite angry. Cranley says that even if you don't believe in these religious practices, you should do it for the sake of your mother. But once again, Stephen refuses, and then Cranley says that even Jesus was a hypocrite, and Stephen seems to be shocked. And Cranley says, if you don't believe in religion, why are you shocked? And he says, no, no, this is there is some kind of confusion still in my mind. But then he informs the most important news that he is leaving Ireland, and the reason is simple. He doesn't want to trap himself into a very limited area. He wants to explore the whole world to know about the things. The last part of the novel is in the form of diary entries, and these diary entries are about various incidents in the following spring. There are entries which tells about various doubts and dilemmas, arguments with his mother, his thoughts of EC and other girls. He thinks that EC is basically representation of all the womanhood of her country. And then all these entries, the last entries is of 27th April when he decides to leave Ireland. And the last line of the novel says, "Old father, old artificer, stand me now and ever and good steed." Obviously, he is invoking the help of artists like Daedalus, and he wants to be freed from all labyrinths of society, religion, relationship, and to be an artist so that he can be free in his thinking, in his all kind of artistic activities. So this is how this beautiful poetic novel ends. Technique which Joyce used to record the impression was obviously, it was not we can say traditional first person or third person narrative. Rather, it employs free indirect voice, it employs interior monologue, it employs stream of consciousness. There is a very focused presentation of the minute details, the smells, sounds, the impression, and how an artist basically forms his or her ideas about the vocation of art. So this is how it is presented. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I was able to explain this rather difficult novel. If you have any queries, or if you want me to explain any other text, please message me and keep supporting me. Thank you, dear friends.